All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Carolyn Gray. Carolyn Gray is a personal development strategist and accountability coach. She is a former human resource manager with 30+ years of experience in human resources, leadership, management, personal development, and training with expertise in building personal and professional relationships. In 2006, Carolyn established Zircon Consulting, a boutique consulting and training firm located in Spring, Texas. She is a certified professional coach, certified personality trainer, etiquette consultant, and distinguished Toastmaster, and has her bachelor's degree in human resources. Carolyn is a board member of the Woodlands and Chamber of Commerce, former Diversity and Inclusion Council team leader at the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce. Right, here's Carolyn.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for coming. I'm excited. I was all prepared to speak to the room. You showed up, so thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Carolyn Gray, and I am really elated to have been asked to be a part of this. And we're going to get started. A disclaimer is I am technologically challenged, so if you see me do something wrong here, just show me or tell me what I need to do. So this is the diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I think she has.
There.
I think she does. Do you have to do select?
No,
Should be
she
quick.
doesn't.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you
So
go.
we're gonna do an icebreaker. We're gonna do an icebreaker. And I don't know if you've done this, have you done the mass icebreaker before? So each of you should have a sheet of paper, maybe a yellow or a white or a green, or something out of the ad, the little envelope that we did. Does everyone have a sheet? Green, yellow? Okay. No, did you get one? You need one? Okay. So what I want you to do is, first of all, listen to what I say. I will not repeat it, and you can't ask questions. Okay? So with your piece of paper, I want you to fold it in half. I want you to tear or rip off the upper right corner of your paper. However you say rip or tear, whatever it is, the upper right corner. Upper right corner of the paper. Fold the paper in half again. And tear off or rip off the lower left corner. Fold the paper in half and tear off the upper left corner. And what you should have, okay, what you should have is a mask. So let me see how many masks we have, how many cyclops we have, how many blocks. Okay, we got cyclops. So, oh, we got a couple cyclops. So the idea behind this is, you have no idea. Well, no, you didn't have one. Yeah, we got cyclops. So the idea behind this is we all heard the same thing. So everybody hold your sheet up. We all heard the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And you see how we have one, two, oh, we got one over here with 3 eyes, 4, 5. But you see how easy it is to hear something and we all did something different. And it's really in the way you focus. So I'm gonna attempt to show you that it works. Attempt. I may be a cyclops too. Okay, upper right corner. Hold it. To the lower left. Fold it again and tear the upper.
It's hard, that's one. So, yeah, need some scissors.
Okay. Drum roll, please.
Yay.
It's really hard the way you fold it.
No pressure.
But the idea behind it is that just know that when we talk, we communicate, that we all hear the same thing, but we all sometimes get a different result. So just remember that. So, let's in talking about diversity and inclusion, these are some things that we really want to do. Want to make a commitment. You have to make a commitment. And it's a commitment system. You have to make a commitment that you're going to do something different, that you're going to see things different. We have to educate ourselves, and that's what we're doing here today. And we're going to define diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then we're going to have some change perspectives, and then talk about the benefits of diversity and inclusion, and then we're going to move forward. So diversity and inclusion, really what we have to do is we have to make an our change in the workplace for our own personal lives as well as our professional lives. And we must first make the internal choice to pursue that. It's all about what we want to do to make a difference. You know, you can get up in the morning and say, I'm going to work, but if you're not making a conscious effort to make a change about the way things are, nothing will happen. What is it? When nothing changes, if we don't change something, nothing changes, right? We have to first understand and have the confidence in ourselves and want to change in order to be an active part of an inclusive organization. And we all want to be a part of an inclusive organization. We all want to feel like we're respected, our opinions are respected, we're valued, and we matter. I don't care who you are. We all want to feel that way. But when you look around the room and see, we're all different. We did the little listening assignment, we saw that we got something different. But that does not mean that we don't all want to be a part of something, okay? What is DE&I really? So diversity, all of us know what diversity means. We all know the meanings of these words, but for so long, we have heard diversity, and it involves including people from a different social and ethnic background, gender, sexual orientation, religious belief, and disabilities. That's diversity. And each of you had a different colored piece of paper or a different type of paper, right? So that's diversity. It was diverse. You all had paper, but they were all different. And equity, making sure things are impartial, fair, provides equal possible outcomes for everyone. There was an equal possible outcome for everyone because everyone heard the same thing. But then the inclusive, and this is really what I think we have to really change the way we look at DE&I. Inclusive, where people with differences and disabilities, whether it's visible or invisible, feel welcomed and valued for their contribution, and they have the same opportunities for advancement. And that really is the key. Think about being inclusive. This is what we want. We have to have the same opportunity. So diversity, we're here. Was it diverse? Yeah, everybody got you. Everybody did. But what we really want to focus in on in the workplace, all of this is important, but we want to focus in on the inclusive portion. So the diversity is focusing on what makes people different. Inclusion is creating an environment where diversity can thrive. Because if you're not providing an environment for diversity to thrive, inclusion to thrive, it will not. The fact that we have, especially in hiring, the fact that we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 females in here does not, we have 2 females. So we have some diversity, but the inclusive part of it has to be that we are creating an environment where diversity can thrive. If we're not doing that, we're missing the mark. We're comforted by commonality. Listen, I like Lee because Lee and I have a relationship. We've been on panels before, we've been to lunch before. So I'm gonna really go all out for Lee.
Same.
And then this is Jeremy. I don't know much about Jeremy. And he has on a blue shirt today.
Lee wears gray shirts.
Lee's and Gray,
Carolyn Gray, yeah. See?
You see the commonality? And we've got some things in common. And it sounds simple, but guess what we do? We do that with people. We do that with employees. We do that with each other. And that's not what we want. So we grow and learn from inclusion. I know a lot about Lee, and there's not everything, but I know a lot of, but when Lee and I met, and we talked, I didn't quit.
No.
He gets picked on because he's here. But I do know I know where he's from. I know his mom was a teacher. You know, so I know that, but I don't know that about Jeremy. And I will never know that about Jeremy if I don't do some inclusion and say, Jeremy, let's go to lunch, or let's go do something. I have to say that with everyone. If I want to know, and I'm not gonna do that, I know a little bit about you too. But we have to get to know each other. And the way we get to know each other is by being inclusive and being a part of something. And you know, I love this rapper. What is it? Pictures worth 1,000 words. So look at this right here. Are we talking about equality? Yes. You know why? Because everybody has the same size eyes. But guess what? Everyone is not, there's no equality there. This poor little guy right here in the yellow short, he can't see a thing unless they have a hot fly, maybe a ball going over the backfield or something. But then when it's equity, look what happened. This guy here, he didn't need that box because he's standing flat-footed to see over the fence. So what happens? They give it to the little guy in the yellow shorts, and now he can see the game. But when we're talking about justice, guess what? They took the fence down and put a
Don't need boxes.
what do you call this?
Chain link.
Chain link. Yeah, those are old. I forgot.
Hurricane.
Now I'm the chain link guy.
Chain link guy. So does that make sense? You see what? And in the workforce, when you and both, we've given everybody the same opportunity. You know what we're saying? Everybody's got a box, but we don't all have the same height restrictions. So we have to look at these things when we're talking about having diversity and equity in the workforce. This one, I love this one. Here's someone talking about reality. Now he just has way too much. He has just way too much.
That's fun.
Really?
Yeah.
And then there's this poor, the little
Is
guy.
that kid in a hole?
Yeah,
Is he in a hole?
Oh, no.
No.
In reality?
No, he is. He's in the ground.
He's the
He's
ground.
on the end.
Yeah, he's
below
below the
ground.
ground.
He's just, no. But look at that. And until we see this and think about it, we really don't think about doing things differently. We have to do something about this. So what do? Oh, they take this guy here with the 10 boxes, give him one, give everybody one. Now see the equal. It's equal. But the poor little guy over here on the end, he still cannot see. So we have to do something about that. He doesn't need it. So they give it to the little guy here, and guess what? Now he can see the game and he's excited. He's excited because he's included. He can actually see. And then of course, justice is taking the fence down. So inclusion, this is what we have to remember about inclusion. It ensures people feel they belong. I'm sure that little guy and the little guy in the shorts probably thought, I don't even know why I'm here. I have no idea why I'm here. I can't see the game. These guys are having a good time. I don't know what they're talking about because I cannot see. The culture where a mix of people can come to work, feel comfortable and confident to be themselves and work in a way that suits them to get their work done. And these are words that we can just really get into our soul. This is things that we want to make sure that we're doing. And you know, ensure everyone feels valued and they add value, and to create an environment where individuals or groups feel welcome. This is it. You have to feel welcomed, respected, supported, and valued. And as we saw in the graphic with the boxes, I'm sure that little guy didn't feel welcome or respected or valued. But when he got the box, the extra box, he probably did. But that's what we have to remember in the workforce. So just think of it like this, and inclusion is important. All of it's important, but if you think about making things inclusive. So here we go, let's talk about some biases. And unconscious bias. Unconscious bias is, or implicit bias, is prejudice or supported judgment in favor of or against a person or group as compared to another in a way that is usually considered unfair. You know, when you think about that, and I'm laughing because girls have heard this, I don't know if you guys have, but you know, the fifth grade girls, or you never heard of the fifth grade girls, the group that they just kind of girls get together in a little clique and they don't want someone to put.
The Mean Girls.
Okay, Mean Girls.
Yeah.
They were fifth grade girls.
Yeah, yeah, the Mean Girls.
The Mean Girls,
Yeah.
yeah. Can you think of that? That's really what we don't want, and it happens in the work. We may not have mean girls, we have mean people.
Yeah.
And so that's what we don't want. We do not want that, but we all have biases. We all have biases, y'all. All of us. And I'm going to show you in just a second about some biases. Look at this. These are some biases that we have, and we have to acknowledge that we have them, and we want to acknowledge it and then do something about it. What do we want to do about it? It's really up to us. So affinity bias, here it is. I went to school to A&M in Christian. So guess what? I'm affinity. My bias, so you went to UT?
Right, I
Too
know,
bad.
I know. That's the horns effect right there.
Too bad. You went to UT. So it doesn't matter how qualified
I
you
know.
are.
Right.
That none of that matters. The affinity part of it is that we went to the same school. So we have those things. It can be a school, it can be a motorcycle club, it can be whatever we come up with that is the affinity. And it happens. And if you don't think it, just think about some of the things that have happened to you where you've been excluded or not given the opportunity when you think that's because they went to school together. That's because they eat dinner together. That's because their kids went on the same baseball team. So that affinity thing, ageism. We definitely know that people get discriminated against by age. And so if you're over 40, of course you can file a complaint for the discrimination. But just because someone is older, now it's even younger, 35. Oh, that's old now. 35-year-old. Now we've got, folks that are 21, 22 in charge of everything. The attribution, undervaluing the accomplishments and overvaluing the mistakes. When someone makes a mistake, people will remember that until their youngest child turns 90. You can do 100 things, you make 99 perfect decisions, and you have one decision that's wrong, and guess what? You're doing. And we have to overcome that. That's not the way we don't want to work like that, and we don't want to live like that. Beauty bias. We've all been in places where it's not just for women, men too. That guy is really good looking. Did you see his beard? Did you see his beard? And oh, she's so cute. Did you see her? She had a cute little dress. I mean, that's beauty bias, and that's what people look at. And these are biases that we have. And if you are honest with yourself, some of this stuff we've said ourselves. We really have a confirmation bias. We look for things that confirm beliefs we already have. I already know about her. See those glasses? Anybody wears glasses like that, you just can't. Really? So she takes them off. But those are things that we have to be aware of, and that's what we want to do. I really want to make sure that when you leave today, that if you're not aware of this, some of this is probably stuff you've heard before, but if you haven't, think about it. think about some of these things and then ask yourself, are these the biases that I have? And if so, what do I want to do about it? Conformity about bias influenced by views of others. Lee doesn't like Jeremy, and Lee and I are good friends. That's what y'all get for sitting in the front.
I know, right?
So, guess what? Jeremy, you're out.
Peace.
Peace.
I can keep the folder though, right?
You can take the photo.
And my back.
So just know that these are things that these are real. This is real stuff. Contrast bias, evaluating the performance of someone or comparing two people. I'm comparing Krista and Jeremy. And Jeremy, I'm gonna give Jeremy a pass. Jeremy is so much better than Krista. You know, so and I shouldn't do that. Krista is a person and you're stand on their own. So we have to remember that's not something that we want to do. Gender bias, preferring one gender over the other. And then, of course, there you go, halo horns. There's the halo and horns effect. The tendency to put someone on a pedestal after learning something impressive about them, or looking at them negatively after learning something negative. So we made a touchdown at UT. We'll let it go.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, he just fumbled the ball. He said, just fumbled. So you see that? Positive. That's not something that we want to do. Let all of these instances stand on their own 2 feet, really. 2 feet. Don't compare like that. And we do it. We all do it. And if we say we don't, we're not being honest with ourselves. Name bias, judging based on name. And this is really true. I have a friend, she's from Trinidad. And her son has a fairly, I guess it's fairly native name for Trinidad, but his middle name is Joseph. He as long as he was using his, and I don't remember what his apologies. He used that name, he could not get a job. Could not get a job. He said, started using his middle initial and Joseph. And it totally frowned. Because people who heard that name, it wasn't John or James, so they just said, oh no, we don't want him. He's, I don't know if it's Trinidad or whatever, but anyways, it's a bias. And weight bias. Weight bias is real. And if we don't think so, just, I've heard it my whole career, someone's overweight. Oh, you don't want them because they move slow. Or you don't want them, they do this or that. We don't want that. We want to judge people, not judge, we want to evaluate and see people based on what they offer to them. We have the person that may have the weight problem has a master's degree, and this other person over here didn't even finish high school and has never worked, but the weight thing is what gets them. So we have.
They spend the whole time working out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so now that we are aware, of the few unconscious biases, we can do something about keeping these biases from interfering in hiring, as well as in our personal life and decision. And the benefits of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. It improves work culture so much because we learn so much more about others that we don't know. We don't know everything. We only know what we know. So if you want to learn, it improves the work culture because it's a mix. It gives you so much more to talk about and do. It helps improve business outcomes because you have different ideas. We all have different backgrounds. We come from different educational backgrounds, work experiences. So we know that it will help improve when you have an idea that I don't know anything about. We say, well, let's do it this way. But if I exclude you, then I don't know. And that's really what we have to get to stop excluding based on our biases. Employees feel respected, connected, and safe. You feel so much better when you feel I'm part of this, you're asking my opinion, and I'm giving you my ideas. And that's really what we wanted to do. Inclusion helps to prevent burnout. When you don't include others, you have one or two people doing all the thinking and making decisions, it's like, they're just exhausted. When, look at the room, we can have a round table here and get all these ideas and decide what we want to do and have a much better outcome. And that's what this is. It helps you improve outcomes. It helps organizations and companies to reach a wider audience. If you're only, look, I'm just. Look at all of the knowledge and experiences I'm just passing this on. And it happens. It really does. I'm sure if I go around and really ask everybody, you have a story, you can tell them, you know for sure that it's happened. And you grow and learn. You learn about culture, you just learn so much about what people can do. And then our organizations are diverse and we have some inclusion. Now, some of this, I definitely wanted to show you that here, diversity.
So good. That's great.
Diversity, you've got every color that you can think of. No connection there, right? But you are diverse. But inclusion, you have your puzzle pieces together and it makes a beautiful picture. And then this, I don't know if you all can see all of it, but this is a puzzle with thinking styles, languages, ethnicity, religion, nationality, sexual orientation, all of these characteristics and things. But it makes for a beautiful puzzle. It puts it together. And we know when you have a puzzle with a piece, this is what that's like. Where's that piece of that puzzle? I know it's all there. Well, that's what we want in the workplace. And in our personal lives too. I know this is at workplace, but in our personal lives, we want the same thing. We don't want to exclude others. It emphasizes the importance of building inclusive workplaces, and it promotes collaboration, creativity, innovation, high performance, fairness and respect, and an environment where employees believe that they belong. And that's really what's like. If I perceive that I belong, then I'm going to be a much better employee. I'm going to contribute more. I'm going to feel good about coming to work. Feel real good about coming to work. Now, last session, they talked about in the generations that work, they talked about the Gen Z. The Gen Zers, let me tell you, their core characteristic is they already know about racial diversity. For some of us who are traditional, we grew up in a time that was different when things were not as segregated.
Yeah.
Right? Just things were just segregated. So, but this group, if you want them to not like somebody because they're racist, you have a hard job. Because all they know is people that's their friend, they play ball with them, they go to school with them, and this is a fun person. I like him, he's this, I like Susie, but that's how they've grown up. The last session we were talking about computers in the home. I didn't have a computer in my home, but these people here, they grew up, and I'm saying these people, because I got some of them in my family. So these people here, they have all got electronics, and my son had a boom box back when he was, I guess he's before, what is he?
X
He's an X.
or millennial.
No. He acts like a word. He had a boom box. I'm thinking, if he had grown up doing this, he probably would have had every gadget under the sun. And that's what they do. So for many Gen Zers, the backdrop for them in their early years include the country's first Black president. So that's not a myth. That's not like, well, maybe one of these days we'll have a Black president. They already know it. They already know it is a given. The legalization of gay marriage. Well, maybe one day they'll legalize gay marriage. They already know it. It's happened. They lived during that time. They likely grew up in a diverse family, and they're less phased with previous generations by differences in race, sexual orientation, and religion. And the reason is that that's what they know. They're on the internet, they're talking about Googling. You can Google anything you want, but they don't have that in our community. We live in a community where there's just so much diversity. If I went down my street, I think you could probably find someone from every country on my street. And that is what it's going to take for us to realize that we all have something to value, and we need to respect others and give them an opportunity to show what it is that we Then, of course, we got the Gen As, and this is the cute, these are the cute little guys. But look, 2010 to about 2024, they know DE&I and they are DE&I. But if we teach them or drill into them that this is not the way to go, then we lose this time. But did you hear what I said? We have to teach them. They don't know, like, they don't know about segregation. They don't know a time where there was not somebody in the class for 2 months or 2 days, or interracial marriages. They know this stuff. And that's where this is coming. It's going to be hard to not have them be, to think about being diverse. It really is going to be very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. Because that's how they know. That's what they play with. They play with everybody. Diversity is the presence of differences within a given setting. This is inclusion. And equity is the process of ensuring that processes and programs are impartial, fair, and provide equal possible outcomes for every individual. Remember the box. Remember the boxes? The guy with the 10 boxes, there was just no equal opportunity for the little guy that was standing on the ground. But we have to overcome, we have to make sure that we are ensuring that we all have an opportunity to be equal and for us to have an equal outcome. And inclusion is the practice of ensuring that people feel a sense of belonging. I don't know if any of you ever gone to a new job or work or something, and just our church is another place. Church, let's do church. Where you go there and nobody speaks to you. Nobody says, they say, good morning, and do like this, and just happens, you know. Or you don't have a program and you're afraid to get a mask because they just work so nice. And the same thing is true in school. The kids is these alphas. When someone new comes to school, the kids rally around them. Let's go play, let's eat lunch. And as adults, that's really what we want to do. And I say as adults because we have to unlearn some things. And that's really a key issue. We have to unlearn some things. They don't. They don't. They don't have to unlearn it. We do. And this is, Renee Myers says this, diversity is an invitation to a party and inclusion is being asked to dance. I don't know if you're all familiar with Renee Myers or not, but she's a diversity advocate and an author. And this is what she says. And the first time I heard this, you know what, that really hurt this me.
Yeah, that's great, that's great.
And
yeah, the worst thing, I'll tell you this, Robin, should say this real fast. My generation, Generation X, so we have had, I would say that this diversity issue has come up in the past, okay? And we've talked about this, right? And the problem, and the thing that is it was diversity for diversity's sake, okay? Which was not good for, it turns out, not good for anybody. And this inclusion piece is key. It's absolutely key. Because we've ended up with workplaces that a lot of people look different, just didn't like each other, right? You know, and so yeah, absolutely.
well, and you know, I've been doing just some research for some of this, and for us being on the diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion council for the chamber, where you had to go in because you think, you know what? Until I started really delving into this, I really thought I knew a whole lot about diversity and equity and inclusion. But the more you read and the more people you're around and you talk to, you find out there's really some things that you don't know. But this is the key. And then I'm talking about, if you are not open and willing to have an exchange, you don't know. If you're thin-skinned and you're wearing your feelings right here, then you're not going to. So for us to sit down and just have an open conversation,
It's gonna be a safe place.
it really.
Yeah.
And that's how our relationship, build our relationship. But when you don't want to listen or hear an exchange, and I'm not talking about people being abusive, that's not what I'm talking about. Because people can be abusive. I'm saying an honest exchange to learn that. You're not gonna get it. It doesn't happen. We have to have a change. It's a heart issue. We have to have a change of heart in how we interact with people. If we see people, everyone is people. There are bad folks everywhere. but we have to learn the good and share that and treat people with respect. And it's not, you're not gonna go to sleep tonight, wake up in the morning, and everything's gonna be good. That's not the same. But over time, where you are exchanging ideas and sharing, and you will get it. So Daniel Janae, who is he's an educator, he says, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is dancing. He said, or better, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is choosing the music, or better than that. Diversity is going to the party. Yeah. Inclusion is being a member of the party planning committee. So if he's not saying that he disagrees with what Renee said, because she's been out there a long time. But when you think about what he said, but you see what you get when you're talking about folks that are really kind of getting into this. He's starting to see it was some thought into this. He didn't just take that you're invited to the party and inclusion is being asked to dance. And then you go on to Liz Bosling and Molly West Duffy. And diversity is having a seat at the table, inclusion is having a voice, and belonging is having that voice be heard. Creating an environment where employees understand what it means to be inclusive earns your team members a sense of belonging. And that's really what, as you were saying, inclusivity is really what we want to work for. Diversity is good. I think we have the diversity. I really do.
Yeah.
Now that's my opinion, right? Anybody may disagree, but I think we understand the diversity, but the inclusion part is where we have some work.
That's the action.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
That's where culture comes in handy too, because if you just allow cultures to develop by themselves, they're more likely to piggyback on cultures they brought with them. So it leads towards people being separated. But if you have a general culture of the company, that you're working towards one goal, then everybody feels like they're part of the same drive.
You know, we're talking about culture. I worked years ago, I worked in Washington, D.C. You know, Washington, D.C. is like a melting pot there. There was a young Asian girl that we had a party, and she wanted to know, it was deviled eggs. And she said, what is this? And I said, well, try. Oh, no, I don't know what it is. So just try it. If you don't like it, you know, you don't have to. So, of course, the joke for us was that we never should have introduced her to deviled eggs, because that's the first thing that she wanted on the list when we were having a party. Said, who's bringing the deviled eggs? But that's because she was okay. That's right. Yeah. And we're not talking about giving her something that's going to hurt her, but when we are introduced to things, we are more likely to say, oh, yeah, that's something like this person. So remember, inclusion is really what I think we should really focus on. Not forget the other one, diversity and equity, but look at how we're going to bring in inclusion. And I love quotes, so y'all have to just humor me here with these. Diversity is the mix, inclusion is making the mix work. You gotta make it work. And diversity is a fact, and inclusion is an act.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good
It
one.
rhymes. It rhymes.
Oh.
So that's important.
Okay, say it, go ahead.
Diversity is a fact, inclusion is an act.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's one of the things that we have to remember is, so diversity is different individuals valuing and accepting each other regardless of skin color, gender, intellect, talents, or years. And when we take all of that out, you're really looking at the person. You're looking at the person and you let your heart guide it. Let it guide that so that you are definitely looking at, you're not looking at all of the other outside factors. And inclusion is inclusion for all. Everyone is included. Never leave people out. Celebrating each other's strengths. And we all have strengths and all have some weaknesses. We all have some areas that we can improve on. So celebrating each other's strengths and learning to live together. Using our heart. I said there, using our heart. If you kind of work from the heart, you're more likely to say, let me give this person an opportunity. Let me train them. Let me show them this. Showing others that we care. Showing them, calling me, sending me a text message and saying, hey, let's go to lunch. Let's meet. Let's do this. And do it. follow through and get to know it, get to know them, get to know people, because that's really where the change is coming. So I'm included, he can't get rid of me now.
No,
He was not even trying.
wouldn't want to.
He's trying. And inviting others to join in. Again, if you're in a room or anywhere you are and someone is sitting by themselves and not, this is like, I am really famous for this. If you're sitting by yourself, I am going to say something to you and ask you if you would like to come and sit with me so you don't have to sit over. It takes very little. And then, of course, if the person is not an outgoing person or an expert, you may have to pull some things out, but just think of some things that you can, either talk about the weather, talk about sports. In Houston, we can talk about sports all year round. You know, we can talk about the Astros, the Rockets, the Texans. You know, you find something, some common, something that you can talk about to get people talking, to engage them. You definitely want to do that. Opening our minds to differences. When we go into these environments, we have to have an open mind. I'm not saying you're gonna walk in with an open mind, but we're gonna open our mind. Start thinking differently. Noticing when someone needs a friend. There is nothing worse than just going somewhere big in a big old room and everybody is there and you're sitting there by yourself and nobody speaks to you, and this happens. It does.
It does.
Has it ever happened to anyone in here? Gone somewhere and you say, yeah, that's not a good feeling.
How much of this is, I mean, really, it is just practicing, if we all were practicing the golden rule, right? Put yourself in the other person's position. How would you feel? I mean, that's what, like, if I am, like, if, I don't care what color they are, if I'm in that position, if I'm in the same position that they are, I would want to be treated a certain way.
Exactly.
That, it's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that, but that's not how we all
I
are,
know.
because we have biases.
Yeah.
So if we acknowledge that we all have biases,
What's-
all of us.
It's always interesting that you're born as a human, and all these things that we hate each other about were given to us. They were told to us. We forget that we were told what race we were, we were told what gender we were, we were told what we're supposed to believe, we were told how we're supposed to think. But when we started, we were all human. And it just, we lose it along the way. And I work a lot with children and with the elderly. And I had a woman tell me she's in the hospice care. She said, I realized I really enjoy the company of children, because I think people at the beginning and the end remember, and you forget it.
And that's very, very true. But we have to remember that we're all human. And just give each other some grace. You know, one of the things that how much am I, what I got, 3 minutes? 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
15.
sorry. I was so into it. I think you have 5.
Oh, fine.
It's
So
3:15.
one of the things that we have to look at when we're building relationships is when we talk about trust, we have to learn to trust. And the minute someone that says something or does something, we thought, well, I'll never speak to them again. But when the person says, can you forgive me for this? I said this. Oh, I don't know if I can do that or not. But when you do that and you ask me to forgive you, you automatically want me to forgive you. And we have to remember that in the exchange, it goes both ways. And when we do that, we're not so likely to hold things against each other. And then those reasons. And let me tell you, you know, y'all, this is one of my favorite expressions, and I say it all the time. Life is better. We're in here today, but tomorrow, or even this afternoon, doesn't mean that we're all going to be able to come back into this room. And we have to remember that, and to be able to treat each other, we're all human beings. Let's include each other and not be so mean to each other. Remember, we all need, I need a friend, yeah, I need friends.
Never step in the same river twice.
Never
Step in the same river twice. Because it keeps moving.
It's got all that. I have to give it.
Philosophy.
I need your card. We need to go to lunch. Y'all, in the packets, these are references, these are YouTube. And some, these are, if you get them, and they're short, I don't do the short, I don't do those hour-long.
God bless you. God bless you.
You know, so they're really short, but definitely check some of these out. They are so informative, and it just makes you feel so good that the whole world is not lost. It's not lost. Some of this is good, and this is a glossary of terminology, the top one. So some things, there's some words in there, phrases in there. And I'm not that I know everything, but I didn't know about that. So go in and check it out. And again, I'm Carolyn Graham, a personal development strategist and accountability coach. And I just thank you so much for allowing me to spend this time.
Carolyn, I'm sure you have too, have worked in large organizations that, diversity was just part of everything they do. But when you start looking at smaller organizations, it seems to me, and I wanted to know your opinion on this, that diversity is kind of like the bottom. Like not all small businesses, I'm not trying to categorize all companies, but a lot of smaller businesses, it's just like, wait, talk to me about that. We're small business. Do you find that?
I think that small businesses probably, I don't think all small businesses feel that way, but I think that small businesses feel that way because the attention is on. You're in a big company, you're working with the federal government, everybody's kind of watching what you do and they're looking at this. And I think in smaller, when I say small, I mean fewer than 10 people, really don't. Nobody's watching. Unless someone reports something that's going on.
Yes.
Yes, why don't you, a company of all white men. What's going on? And the response, we can't find any qualified people.
So I just want to add real fast too, those companies are generally not covered by the employment laws, the employment termination laws. So they can literally legally terminate under the, so
Under 50.
under 15, 5.5, yeah.
So, but my point is, if you're wanting to do that, if that's the way you want to structure a company, it's easy to do.
Right.
And nobody can.
Well, and they were saying earlier too, that a lot of those stuff have to do with the person in charge, right? What's their mindset, so you could have a small company with the person's mindset that really gets it in diversity and inclusion, and they're like, this is gonna be how it happens. But if you've got someone in the leadership position that really doesn't understand it, maybe, then that's gonna spill into the way they operate their business.
And as I've heard, most white males do not believe that whiteness is a thing.
That's
a whole other-
that's another class.
They just
That's
say,
another
"Well,
session."
That's just being normal. And I'm like,
Oh,
who built this country? Like white people.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's not
frustrating.
awareness. I hope that you glean something today that you say, I'm going to take this to heart and I'm going to see what I can do. Because it's not each of us. It's not just a group. We all have to bring our heart into this and treat you as I cannot mistreat you. But I can. But
well, not as good as Lee, but.
Jerry, we don't know. But as my brother or my friend, I should not treat you that way. I shouldn't treat anyone that way. And when I do, I need to check myself. But I think when you look from the heart and think about how we're treating each other, and we're talking about workplace, but let me just close with this. Anybody else have any questions? We're talking about workplace, but let's do this in our families also. And I'm not saying that you have this family, I mean, just be kind to each other. And when we do that, when families leave home and go to school and work, then they're more likely to say, I want to be like this with my coworker. I know this is really what makes me feel good. Any questions? I'm out of time. Did you have a
I
question?
said awesome.
Yeah, great job.
Okay.